we'll see how that unfolds. And this story is breaking this morning, and we're going to talk on the roundtable about that. It is that the AAC presidents have voted now to establish a minimum standard of benefits required to share with the athletes. Now, I scanned this quickly because it literally has just come down. But it seems to me that each school is required now by the American, first conference, by the way, to do this, that over 3 years they must share $10 million. That doesn't really seem like a lot, but that's what it's going to be. That's the bottom. That's the floor. The ceiling, if I read this correctly, it's quite a difference. And I'm not sure the American schools will get to this level. I'm sure Memphis, probably South Florida, probably Tulane, the three schools that spend the most on NIL, will try to increase the $3 million per year. What is it, $3.33 million per year? But the max is $20.5 million over 1 year. So it's $10 million over 3 years, all the way to $20.5 million per year. That is quite a difference here, but it's clear that the American and their presidents have decided they are going to try to compete with sharing some revenue, and I don't believe that this entails the NIL as well. So let me ask your take, Brian. I know you read this just very quickly too. What's your sense of it? I got the gist of it?
Yeah, I think you're right on the money, and I think we've seen Tim Pernetti, who's still very new to the role of being the commissioner of the conference. He's trying to be innovative. He's trying to go out there and do things. I think sometimes us here in Memphis, as people who follow the University of Memphis, some of those ideas we go, yeah, maybe not. We won't like that.
Well, the 20 conference games.
The 20 conference games
is very bad for this for this particular school.
Exactly.
I don't know for the whole entity. It might be helpful, but honestly, it makes more sense to do these challenges with the A10,
I'm with you.
Mountain West, that kind of thing, than it would be to add two conference games to your top teams. Because if you're trying to get more than one team be a multi-bid league, I don't believe 20 conference games is the way to do it.
It's not going to do anything.
I think it's to make your teams schedule non-conference better. And the best thing to do, if you can't get power teams like Memphis is able to do because of TV, then do the A10, do the Mountain West. They're in the same boat you are. And to play 20 conference games, I mean, Memphis playing Rice another time, Memphis playing Charlotte another time, Memphis playing UTSA another time. That is not unnecessary in my estimation.
No, and I mean you can even go down to a couple teams behind me. I mean, if you're trying to say we want to do this to get more teams in the conversation, I mean, North Texas right now 58 in the net. What is two more games against UTSA and Charlotte going to do for them? You can make the same case for UAB, but that's not really what we're talking about. This particular thing, I think it's just Tim Pernetti trying to be innovative and try to get something going with this conference. Like you said, it looks like that $10 million is going to be the minimum. I think the first paragraph says at least $10 million. And then it can go up to somewhere, I think $20.5 million.
$20.5 million per year. Yeah. So the $10 million is over a 3-year period.
Right.
I'm not sure the connection, honestly, because that was worded weirdly. I don't know if it is separate from NIL.
I believe
or if that is also part of the NIL. Well, we're going to get into that in the roundtable tonight. End of what has been a really fun regular season. I mean, go back to Maui. You beat Connecticut right off the bat. Go to the start of the year. You beat Missouri. Then you went to San Francisco and won. You beat UNLV in Vegas. You're off to a tremendous start. And you go to Maui. You upset the two-time defending champion trying to do a three-peat in UConn. You beat Michigan State, which turns out to be now at least a 2 seed by most of these bracketologists. And then you got beat by Auburn, which is just a tremendous team. You played even with them in the second half, but they killed you in the first half. They showed you what a team they were. But to get to the championship game in Maui, that is quite the accomplishment, I think. And then you win at Clemson, team that's clearly going to be a 4 or a 5 seed in the tournament. You beat Virginia at Virginia. Now that's a team that obviously has had a disappointing year. Their coach quit right before the season, but it's still a road win against an ACC team. That was fun. That was impressive. And then, obviously, some setbacks. Temple, Wichita. It's hard to beat every team all the time. It's hard to win every conference game. There isn't a single team that has won every conference game that I know of. So Memphis is in that mix. It's unfortunate where your seeding may be. That's the one disappointment, I think, of this year. Had they not lost that Wichita game, I think they'd at least be a 5 seed. I really do. Now, I for whatever reason, I saw the USA Today bracketology. We were a 6 there. I love the bracket we were in. I think it was Milwaukee. You were playing 2 teams to begin with that you had a really good chance of beating, and now you're a 7 seed. I don't quite know why you got moved out, because you beat UTSA by 5. Nobody watched that game because it was on Plus. So I don't understand the slippage there. Palm is the only place I see that a 6. Lenardi's got him a 7. So that's the one disappointment. But back to tonight. This is a team that you beat the heck out of. 80-65 in Tampa. They're 13-17, 6-11. I'm not even sure where their net is this morning. It's not going to be
189.
Yeah, very good, right. 189. That's why you are 13.5-point favorites in this game. But get the job done, and you are the solo conference champions. You should. And you're already knowing that you're the number 1 seed. You're playing a week from today at, I think it's noon, right? 12:15?
That's right.
Noon?
Yep.
Something like that. So that's all set in stone. All you're playing now for, honestly, is for the seniors tonight. So you're going to say goodbye to Jourdain, Hunter, Rogers, Cisse. Danger keeps saying he thinks he's got a chance to come back. Precedent would tell you he doesn't. Tell you who can come back are both PJs, Haggerty, which is really one you want, which is going to cost you, and Carter, who I hope will come back. Somebody was saying to me, PJ wants to become a coach. Maybe wants to start that journey next year. And I met his dad. I mean, if I were the family, I'd be going, PJ, you can become a coach the year after. Mm-hmm. You only get one more year to play. So I hope he comes back, because he's honestly a great 6th or 7th guy.
Oh, yeah.
And then both Harrises can come back. Dante, whose ankle, I'm afraid, is going to keep him out. Well, I know it's going to keep him out of tonight, but I suspect it'll keep him out of at least the conference tournament. High ankle sprains are bad. And now this was right after it happened, but he was having a hard time walking without crutches after the game in San Antonio. But both the Harrises, and Jared is the freshman that was freshman of the year. This is the second year in a row the Tigers have had a freshman of the year who never really played. Carl Scherenfant is the other guy. Yeah. He transferred away. I don't know what will happen to Jared Harris. I think he's got some potential. I really do. He came in pretty heralded, and just, as Penny said, he wishes he had redshirted him because he just wasn't physically ready. You see, he's a very skinny kid, and the way the game is going now with all these portal transfers, most teams are experienced older players. And a true freshman that hasn't really filled out completely yet doesn't have a chance. It's boys amongst men is really the way it is. So we'll be saying goodbye to all of those players tonight. At least we know for sure Jordan, Hunter, Rogers, Cisse, they are definitely out of eligibility. So it should be a fun night. And then There's lots to look forward to in this tournament. I have no idea. I know Memphis won and North Texas 2 for sure. I think. I don't think UAB can catch North. Well, actually, they could. They're only one game behind. If they were to beat Tulane and North Texas were to lose, they're at Wichita, correct?
I believe that's right.
Then you I don't know what the tiebreak is, but by record they would be tied. So the only thing really decided is the 1 seed. Even the 4 seed is up for grabs. If UAB beats Tulane and East Carolina were to win its game, they could actually catch Tulane for the 4 seed. So there's plenty still to be decided in the league. Back to the Grizz. Who's playing tonight? There's no Triple J, right?
Right.
There's no Ja, right?
I think Ja is playing tonight.
He is going to play,
I believe
even
Ja
though
is gonna play tonight.
even though he basically said he shouldn't have played
Right.
the other night.
The status report came out last night. No Ja Moran on it. So,
What about Santi Aldama?
let me pull up the status report real quick and see if
Because he didn't play the other night.
Santi is questionable tonight.
So if you don't have Ja and Santi, that's painful. And if Ja didn't play, ooh. Well,
Yeah.
but look at Dallas. No
Oh,
Kyrie,
man. Oh, man.
no AD, right? Who's the other big guy that they got that's hurt?
They've got a lot of guys.
Yeah,
hurt.
they are really
Yeah.
decimated. We're going to talk with Andy Schiffman about the Grizz woes. We're going to talk about Giannis's 20,000. Is LeBron's a mark that 50,000 could ever get caught in the Dallas debacle and all of that? Lakers have won 8 straight now. They're in second. Are they going to keep it? We'll chat with our friend Andy Schiffman, our agent in Chicago, about all of that. We always, on Fridays, do our pick contest. We pick 6. And thanks to Ken Palm, we're able to do that with college basketball games as well. We use his analytics to decide what the line would be. It's usually pretty close, and we take it from there. Since we've started our new contest, both of us pretty darn efficient. We are both coming into this week 3 of this new deal, 8-4.
Wow.
I think you made them hard this week.
I think so, too. I wanted to make them hard.
Okay. The first one is the Grizz in Dallas at, what is that? What is the name? Is that American Airlines
That's
Center?
right.
Okay.
Bingo.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Heck, I remember seeing them in Reunion.
Well, times have changed.
Yeah,
Dave.
well, I remember that was when they had Mr. Carter, who wore a cowboy hat, was their
Yeah.
owner. He
Love
also owned the soccer team. He was a character. Then it was Mark Cuban who bought them for
Yeah.
a song and made a ton of money. And now you got this casino group that I don't know what the heck they're doing. But Dallas does. I don't know about the personnel, but I know that line's a lot, 10.5. I know the Grizz can score a lot, but they can't stop anybody. This is a tough one. I'm just going to say the Grizz are going to win this game. I don't think they're going to win by 10.5 because their defense is pretty shoddy, unless it changes. So I'm going to go Grizz win, but Dallas covers.
I'm with you, Dave. I heard this nugget yesterday. Doug Kazarian joined us in the afternoon, and he had this to say about the Grizzlies. They have not covered in their last 9 games they've played. They have not covered. So with that being said, I think the Grizzlies can win tonight, but that is a huge line. I will take the Mavericks to cover.
So that they haven't covered in the last 9. You realize what they're since the trade deadline. There have been 11 games.
That's right.
They are 3-8 in those games, and they have played horrendous defense in those games. I don't know what's happened. They're like 27 out of 30 in defense since the trade deadline. All right. So we're in agreement there. Purdue is at Illinois, 4.5 for the Illini. I don't trust Purdue. This is not the last few years' Purdue team. And Illinois is a good team, and they're at home. It's only 4.5. They're playing for seeding, too.
They sure are.
I go with the Illini.
Wow, I thought I was going to bait you into that one, but no, I'm also going to take Illinois in this one. It all comes down to that number. Feels like Vegas is trying to dangle that 4.5 with Illinois, saying, hey, go with the ranked team on the road. So I'm going to go with Illinois in this one.
All right, 2-2. 2 for 2. We're in agreement. St. John's.
What a game this is going to be.
Has to go to Milwaukee. Marquette is the underdog at home. Rick Pitino's team has been magic. I think the magic continues. I believe in Rick Pitino's team. This may be a team of destiny. I'm going to go with the St. John's. They're not the Redmen anymore, are they?
They're the Red Storm.
Red Storm.
Yeah.
I knew they went politically correct on me. I'll take St. John's to win the game. I mean, all you got to do is win straight up when the line's 1.5, pretty much. So I'm going St. John's.
I'll give us a little difference here.
Right.
This one I was up in the air on. So since you went with St. John's,
made all these hard. I think
you're right. I wanted tough ones. This one I think is the toughest because I think this game is going to be fantastic. I cannot wait. I've loved watching St. John's this year, what Rick Pitino's doing. But give me Marquette. I'll take Shaka Smart and his group to make it difficult. You know that it's going to be a great environment there at Marquette. And the Memphian, Cam Jones, I'll back him at home tomorrow. Give me Marquette.
All right. We differ, finally. Kentucky is at Missouri. The line is 4.5. Missouri is a really good team at home. Missouri is, I think Dennis Gates is up for Coach of the Year in the SEC.
Absolutely.
And if you don't give it to Bruce Pearl, which you probably should, wouldn't you give it to Dennis Gates? 0 for 18 last year and a real force this year. I'm going to go with the home team here. 4.5 makes it very difficult. Kentucky is sort of an up-down team. They've got injuries themselves. I'll go with the Missouri Tigers.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'll go with Missouri here.
Okay. Alabama at Auburn. This is what makes this difficult. There's no doubt Auburn is upset about what happened to them in College Station. They were due a bad game. But it's Alabama who's hopping mad the way they blew that game in Knoxville. I mean, they had that game won. That was Nate Oates at his worst. 8 points, that's so much. But you know what, Auburn, I think they could lose tonight. I think they could lose in the first game of the SEC tournament and still be a 1 seed, right?
Well, Jerry Palm, who I know joins the morning show, he wrote a column about his bracketology and said that if they lose to Alabama, they would still be the number 1 overall seed. Now, if they lost first round SEC tournament, I don't think they'd be the number 1 overall seed.
But they'd still be number 1.
They'd still be a number 1 seed.
I know Bruce Pearl wants to get the train changed. 8 points, though. I'm really torn on this. I'm going to go Auburn here, just for home court. But I really don't know. This is the one I just cannot get a feel. I could go either way on this one, but I'm going to take Pearl wants to beat Alabama in state, all that stuff, at home, coming off a loss. I'm going to go Auburn.
Yeah, no, great reasoning for it, and I think this is going to be another great game. I think this is a really tough line to pick it at. I'm going to go with Alabama here, back-to-back losses. Really, you had the Tennessee one, like you mentioned, in heartbreaking fashion. You got Florida come in and beat you on your home court. Now you've got the rivalry game. You already lost to Auburn once this season. I think Nate Oates and his team keeps it close. I don't know if I think they win, but I do think they keep it within this 8 points, so I'll take Alabama.
All right, we differ on 2. That's very good. And then finally, it's Ole Miss at Florida in Gainesville, and this line to me is way too much, 10.5.
It's a big number.
I think Florida, I just was telling you how much I admire Florida because I did not realize the physicality with which they play. But you know what? That's right up Chris Beard's alley.
Yep.
Now, Florida's going to win this game.
Oh, yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind. But 10.5, Chris Beard's going to keep this thing close. This is a 4 to 5 point game in my estimation. I'm taking Ole Miss all the way in this one because that line's way too big.
Yeah, I was surprised when I saw the number on KenPom in double digits. But I'm going to go with Florida here. I think that was an
Wow.
emotional win for Ole Miss earlier this week, beating beating Tennessee at home. Now you got to go on the road to Florida. I think that bubble pops, and I think Florida runs away with this one. So I'll take Florida to cover.
So that's like 71-60, you realize?
Yep.
Okay.
Not super confident in it. But
So here we go. 3 different ones
right.
that we
Yep.
will disagree on. So this should be a fun week. Those are our picks. They're brought to you by the Spirit Shop. I went to see Eddie Connor yesterday. Oh, my gosh. He's always a little frazzled because he's always bringing in new stuff, and he's marking them up, and he's so incredible with the way they do the spatial engineering in that little place because they've got so much stuff at Poplar in St. Nick, 4848 Poplar, that little log cabin. You've seen it right down the street from Clark Tower. That's where you go stock up for your spirits. That's where you may want to buy to celebrate. Maybe get champagne tonight for the Tigers solo championship if they can knock off USF. But Eddie, he's going to give you an education. He's going to tell you why you should buy this particular champagne. He's going to tell you why this particular bourbon is valuable. He's going to tell you why this new tequila is really special. He's going to tell you why this wine is going to be a winner. Starts low. It's going to be worth some money in the future. He will give you an education. He and any of the folks in the store, they are so friendly, and the prices are so fair. You'll love it, and you can't beat that location in East Memphis. Go stock up this weekend with your spirits at Eddie Connor's Spirit Shop. We take a break. When we come back, we head to Chicago. Our agent from Priority Sports is Andy Schiffman. We talk NBA with Andy in just a minute.
Your taxes filed quick and get your refund fast? Go to Brenton Tax Service, located in Midtown Memphis on Madison Avenue. We may not be related to you, but at Brenton Tax Service, we protect you like family.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. Did you know there are so many roofing companies in Memphis that I don't even know them all? So that begs the question, which one should you choose? So I thought I'd give you a little background about me. My grandfather was a World War II Marine. My father worked for the University of Memphis for nearly 30 years. My mother, a pianist at Raleigh Baptist Church. Seems like forever. I went to Brownsville Road, Craigmont, and Bartlett High School, class of 81. We support the local school systems, youth athletics, and believe in what St. Jude and Le Bonheur stand for. I'm a Tiger and Grizz fan. The point? Memphis is my home. Five Ash Roofing will be around if you ever have a problem with the service we provide. Five Ash Roofing
Welcome back into the Family Leisure Studios. Don't forget that first ever preseason pool spa patio event going on at Family Leisure at I-40 and Wooden Road, where pools are under $2,000. The spas are under $3,000. The cold plunge and the swim spas, those are priced to move, and patio furniture starts at $7.99. You can enter right now, and you could win a free pool, a free spa, or a free patio set. If you stop by, register today, you could be a winner at Family Leisure. We go to the Windy City. Andy Schiffman from Priority Sports standing by. Grizzlies in a bad streak here since the trading deadline, 3-8. They have fallen. The Lakers now are in second in the West. They got a critical two-game stretch here. Tonight in Dallas, where they're big favorites. They'll be big favorites in New Orleans the next game. They got to make hay now. Where do you think these Grizz are tumbling to? And why have they struggled so much since the trade deadline? Good morning.
Good morning, Dave. Well, I think a lot of it is the fact they did play some pretty tough opponents. Obviously, Oklahoma City the other night. Towards the end of February, New York at home is always a tough out. That was a heartbreaker, I know. Before that, they lost pretty good at Cleveland in a high-scoring game. So I think a lot of it is the level of the opponent they're playing, and I don't really have an answer as to anything else. I just think they're being outplayed. That's the bottom line. I don't necessarily say outcoached, but obviously they've been dealing with a little bit of injury. Ja's still out there shooting threes here and there when he's below 30% on the season, if I'm correct. And then obviously
he's three of his last 44. If I did my math,
and I don't know why. Stop shooting threes. Stop shooting threes. Get to the rim.
Well, he's basically saying he's hurt. That's what he's saying. He doesn't know if he's going to be healthy by the end of the year. Would you stop playing him? Now, you know where I sit on body unload management and resting bodies and all this other stuff, because I'm not a proponent of that, but I will tell you, if the guy's hurt, if he can't shoot threes because his shoulder won't let him shoot the proper physical way, I wouldn't. I'd say, Ja, I know we're going to lose seeding here, but we got to have you for the playoffs. I wouldn't play him.
If it's that bad, if it really is limiting him just and beyond just the shooting piece, if it's limiting him and putting the ball on the floor, playing his game, and even if he uses athleticism to get to the rim, like we all know he's one of the best in the league at doing that, if he's still unable to be as crafty and effective because of the shoulder issue, then I do think it's beneficial to maybe rest him, see if you can get that shoulder improved, because right now they're fourth in the West. You've got Golden State that I think have won 7 straight, and I want to say maybe you're like 9-2 since the trade deadline, adding Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
Based on that trajectory, you have to assume that in the next coming weeks, Golden State could surpass Memphis at 4, Houston at 5. Obviously, you still have Minnesota and the Clippers down there. I think it all just depends on where the Grizzlies hope to finish. If they're really hell-bent on trying to get home court advantage, then I do think maybe rest Ja and understand you may slip a little bit, but then really make a nice run here, try to get going at the end of the month and into April, and see if you can get back up to the top 4. Because right now, you don't want to risk continuing to lose games that you should be winning at home. And they've got the next 3, Dallas, New Orleans, and Phoenix at home. All 3 winnable games, must-win games. Phoenix is struggling beyond belief. And so if you can win those games without Ja, I think that should give them a lot of confidence. And I'm with you. Just get him healthy. Don't hang your hat so much on trying to be a top 4 team right now. You're playing for the playoffs. You're not playing for where you're at here on March 7th. So I think that's a good idea. I just don't know if he'll do it.
The only thing I would say differently on that, because I agree with it, and I think these next 3 games you've got
really the next 4, because then after Phoenix, you got Utah.
You've got to win those 4 games. You really have to have a 4-game winning streak to, in my mind, adjust your expectation. You're not getting second. And you mentioned Golden State. How about the Lakers, who have won 8 in a row?
And they're first in defense since the beginning of February, which to me is extremely surprising. And we talked about it. I thought they would really crumble defensively, adding Luka, who is a lackluster perimeter defender, getting rid of a great rim protector in Anthony Davis. But to their credit, man, they've been finding a way to defend their butts off.
You know what? J.J. Redick might be the coach of the year. The way this is going,
He might.
We love underdog
He
stories.
might.
But
Get handed Luka Doncic and be coach of the year. Not a bad gig.
back to my thing, I think expectations, which you were hoping, we could finish second in the West. I think now you got to hope to finish fourth because you want the home court advantage against Houston, a team you lost 3 out of 4 in the regular season.
Absolutely. And I think that needs to be the goal, but you have to have everybody healthy. We talk about it every week on this show. We talk about it throughout the season, right? The Grizzlies are only as good as their healthy players are, their healthy core. And so if you are missing one of Jared, one of Ja, one of Desmond Bane through a large stretch of the season, again, we've seen instances where they have had success on the court without Ja, which is a little bit of a interesting situation, I'd say. But again, in big picture, if you want to succeed in a playoff, you have to have a fully healthy lineup. You have to have a healthy Ja Morant. So if you have to take 2 steps back now to take 3 steps forward when Ja's back, you got to do it. So it's very interesting to see what's going to happen in the West. I think Houston is kind of slipping a little bit. I'm really interested to see how the Clippers do. I think they could really pick up some steam here, in Minnesota for that matter too, but I've always liked this Clippers team. Harden just had a big night the other night, dropping 50 points for the first time with the Clippers in this season. So I would say watch out for them. But look, there's over a month left in the season, and you have to take care of the games you need to be winning for sure. You have to go out and win the next 4 if you consider yourself a top 4 team in the West. The 5th game is Cleveland. Let's just let's just assume they're going to lose that one because nobody's playing better basketball right now than Cleveland. Outside of OKC, and then you got the next tier. Those are 1, and then 1A is obviously Golden State and the LA Lakers. But you have to take it one game at a time. And if you can potentially get away with resting Ja for a few games in hopes that will help him in the long run and come away with some wins, you got to do it. But the last thing you want is to lose some of these games.
We mentioned what's going on in LA. That chemistry with Luke is beyond belief. But we also saw LeBron get to 50,000 points. I made this point yesterday. Giannis got to 20,000. Giannis is a Hall of Famer, won a championship. Now he's at 20,000 points. He's 30,000 points. I know he's got time to play, but he's 30,000 points below LeBron. My question for you, and you've been watching this for a long time, is that an unbeatable record? 50,000. Is that like the DiMaggio hitting streak? Seriously, I don't know that can ever get broken.
I don't believe it will for a few reasons. One, obviously, the number one thing that LeBron has going for him, which we don't know what will happen with some of these stars you see now, like you mentioned, Giannis, Luka, obviously, is longevity. The reason, apart from being an elite level player, he's able to do this is he's playing into his 40s. I don't think we'll see Giannis do that. I don't think we'll see Luka do that. And I think, secondly, a guy like LeBron, he is such a rare player in this league, someone to come in from the get-go and just be a scoring leader, a franchise leader, an elite-level talent. Giannis was not necessarily that his first year in the league.
Right.
Luke was very good. Obviously, he's improved greatly, and now he's been one of the best players in the NBA. Same thing with SGA in Oklahoma City. I think my front runner for MVP this year. But his first couple of years in the league, it's not like he was going out there putting up 25 a game. And so I just worry about the longevity of some of these other stars. And again, I say worry, but the reality is what LeBron has done throughout the course of his career, that's the anomaly. Like you look up and you see a Giannis, you see SGA, you see Luka, obviously steps towards the kind of the back end of his career. You see even what Wembanyama is going to do down the road. Like the norm is for these players to kind of be fading off into the sunset by the time they're 35, 36. I would be shocked if any of them are playing as long as LeBron is playing. So I do not believe we'll see in our lifetime that record be broken.
Well, your point on the front end, I haven't heard this before, is really good. LeBron came in, and immediately he was a good scorer. He was getting points in his first couple of years that, let's say, Giannis is a good point. Giannis was not that productive his first 2 years. It took him a while to mature. I think Luka was a little quicker, but he didn't have I'd have to look this up, but I don't think he had the first year or two that LeBron did. So he's behind.
LeBron
and
scored
he's-
like 21 a game his rookie season. I'm looking up Luka's right now.
Okay.
Luka, look. All right, in fairness, Luka was 21 a game his rookie season.
Yeah, but
I just don't know
here's
if
the
his
deal.
body's going to hold up.
That's
that long.
right. Luka is not the fitness fit king
Yeah.
that LeBron
Yeah.
is.
Right.
So I think that's true. And what about Wemby? What did he average his first year? It wasn't going to be in the 21s.
No, but obviously, he's dealt with a litany of injuries as well. But his very first year, rookie season, a couple of years ago, he was also 21 a game.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Well, he's the guy. If he stays healthy, he's fit. He's a guy, and big guys change the way they play a little bit, and they can last longer. Let me look at how long Kareem lasted in the league. Even guys like Bill Russell and Will Chamberlain, bigger guys who are not reliant necessarily on the first step, they can last longer. So, maybe
Exactly.
a guy like Wemby could break that record. But at this moment,
He could. I mean, Giannis, his rookie season, to get back to that point, 7 points a game his rookie year.
Yeah.
12 and a half the next year.
Yeah.
Then he wasn't averaging over 20 points a game until his fourth year in his career.
That's right. So he's never going to make it because he missed the front end. That's why. These other guys are still in the running, but the back end's going to be tough to match LeBron. I can promise you that.
Absolutely.
What do you make of this Dallas debacle? I just like it's the craziest thing. They lose Kyrie the night that they announce, or at least they basically were found out that they were going to announce. They were raising ticket prices 8.5%. This is no AD. They're all mad about Luka going, and now you've lost Kyrie. Are they suicidal there? Are they trying to make everybody in Dallas mad so they can move to where they're from, Las Vegas? I don't think the league would let them. I mean, what do you make of the Dallas debacle?
Honestly, I can't make anything of it, Dave. To your point, you go out there, you trade Luka, and then you refund many of the season tickets because of that. And now, to make up for that, your answer is, well, let's raise the price for people to come watch a team that right now, unfortunately, is a bit of a disaster. You lose Kyrie Irving to an ACL tear. He's done for the season. I don't know if I've ever seen a team go to the NBA Finals one year and then completely fall out of the playoff picture the next year, unless they've had some season-ending injuries to their superstars, which, okay, you had that now for Kyrie, but we're in March, and you trade away Luka, obviously, to get Anthony Davis, who hasn't really done anything yet because he's been injured as well. I don't know what the thought process is here. The last thing I would do if I'm running the Dallas Mavericks is raise ticket prices. That's a head-scratcher to me. I don't know. I would love to be a fly on the wall in those board meetings to understand the rationale behind that. But they're going to have a lot of unhappy fans. And to your point, I don't know the details of their lease agreement and the ownership, et cetera, but I would not be shocked if this is the beginning of the end for their tenure in Dallas.
But
it'd be disappointing.
The league wouldn't let them go. I mean, the league
I don't
stands
think
to
so.
make too much from an expansion team in Vegas. There's no way they would let them just go and then put that team in Dallas. I don't think.
I don't think so either, but it's just, again, like you're looking at what you have on paper, and when you start to think about logic, like, okay, well, I guess that makes sense. I guess that makes sense if they're trying to grow the disparity and end the love between the fans in Dallas and the team, because that's what they're doing. It's quite a disaster, and it's very disappointing to see.
Yeah, wow, it's wild. All right, last thing for you, and this one, sort this through for me. The New York Knicks owner, James Dolan, who has been enemy number one in New York for many, many years because he's been so inept with the way he has dealt with the team and, honestly, his own public relations. He's come out and said that he wants the NBA and their accounting, their financial department, to be clearer in their accounting of league finances. What does he mean by this? It almost alleges that there's poor accounting practices in the league. Maybe the bigger markets are getting not their fair share. I'm not sure where he's going with this. Can you clarify?
Well, I'm not privy necessarily to the letter that he wrote to the NBA on this. I read about it this morning, obviously, and he's pretty notorious for kind of speaking his mind on a lot of issues. Look, the NBA, they do an audit of all of their finances every summer, which then determines what the salary cap is and basketball-related income is and the split in revenue is for that following season. I know teams, for a fact, the owners do have access to a lot of that information, what goes into basketball-related income, what makes up the split of revenue for that applicable year that they're in. So I'm not necessarily sure exactly what Dolan is asking for beyond that. I think maybe he's a conspiracy theorist. I actually believe that is true from talking to a lot of people around the league. Mm-hmm. I'm not exactly sure. You know as much as I do on that. Just kind of what you read online and see on ESPN.
Well, the interesting aspect for me is he owns the Yes Network. He gets a lot of television money locally, more so than, say, the Grizzlies with their FanDuel deal, which, by the way, is going to get worse and worse because of cable cutting. And that's why 5 of the Grizzlies games are now on free over-the-air TV, by the way. He's getting the advantage of that money because that money is not pooled, right? The local TV package, he owns that. He doesn't have to share any of that. It's just the national TV deal. So I don't know why he would want to put a light on that, honestly.
One thing I'm reading, it says he wants information categorized by department around the NBA offices and what their expenses are, how many people work in those departments, their expenditures, their overhead. What their budget is, each department in the league. I think a lot of that is extreme. They're extreme asks. I know that they want a budget publicized to all the owners in the league meetings when they have those over the summer.
What is he afraid?
There's always been
David. Is he afraid Adam Silver's using too many private planes? I mean, what's the deal?
He must be. I don't know what he's trying to get at. I mean, look, this is the only qualm of any owner I've heard from this season relates to finances of the NBA. And as you said, he's coming up and speaking out about this, and he's probably one of the, if not the richest owner, maybe outside of Steve Ballmer with the Clippers, in the NBA.
Put Para up there, baby.
Well, I don't know anything about him. You never see the guy. So.
Yeah, that's true. But if you read Forbes, he's got a lot of money now.
This is very true.
Yeah. All right, my friend. As always, we appreciate it. We will chat again next Friday. Hopefully the Grizzlies take advantage of the way the scheduling is working for this week.
Let's hope so. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you. That's Andy Schiffman, our agent in Chicago. He's brought to you by Southern Security, our good friends. Love talking about all those folks that make everything financially a little easier for you, whether you're a small business owner, maybe you're buying your first home. Southern Security, they'll be your financial partner that you can trust. For over 75 years, people have. And this is why for the last 6 years, they've been voted the number 1 in the whole darn area because they will take care of you with unbeatable rates, the best service, and always the newest technology. 6 years in a row, best credit union for a reason. And you can join so easily. You can actually talk to a person at 901-452-7900, or you can just go to southernsecurity.org and find out how to do it. Southern Security, proud supporter of U of M Athletics and 901 Women. Southern Security, that's your home team credit union, federally insured by NCUA. We take the quick time out. When we come back, it's time for the Roundtable with Corey Glore, Bruce Howard, and myself. We talk the American in just a minute.
Somebody has recognized me as the spokesperson for Central Barbecue. One of the spokespeople. I wouldn't have a nickel because we do these for the radio. But I'm proud to be the spokesperson for Central Barbecue. You know what I mean? I'm proud because all of us who do this have had to do ads for things we didn't necessarily believe in. I know I have. I know you have too. Hey. But we get to tell everyone about Central Barbecue, the best barbecue in Memphis. In the world.
March 7th at 8 when the Tigers welcome South Florida to Bluff City for their season finale. It's senior night as we'll honor 5 seniors prior to the game. A special halftime performance from the Palm and Ambush crew alumni. And one lucky student will take a half-court shot for a chance at $10,000. It's time to stand up, Memphis, and cheer on your first-place Tigers. Be sure to get your tickets now at GoTigersGo.com.
Time to end our week with the AAC Roundtable. Corey Glore, voice of the Green Wave, and he's in New Orleans. Bruce Howard, I guess, is still in Tulsa. He'll be on his way to Wichita momentarily. Final weekend of the regular season will be in Fort Worth for a final time, by the way. Next Wednesday, we will all gather there. Let's start with this. Gentlemen, the story came out this morning. We've just kind of scanned it because it came out close to when we began. But the American presidents have decided that they will establish a minimum standard of benefits that's required to share with the athletes. This is the revenue share that comes out from court decisions. That the floor for the American schools will be $10 million over 3 years. $10 million over 3 years. They're the first conference to do this, by the way. But the ceiling on this is much different. You can spend up to $20.5 million per year. So basically, from 3 1/3 to $20.5 million. But you're going to at least have to invest $3.5 million into your students, and I'm not sure if that includes the NIL or if the NIL is a separate entity. Good morning, Corey Glore. Your take on all of this to begin with.
Good morning, fellas, and I think it's a pretty good first step here for the American to at least set a baseline for the incoming era of revenue sharing. And from what I'm reading, NIL is not part of it, but from what I am reading, you can put new scholarships into this mix. You can use some of the Alston money, that stipend pool, and go towards this money as well if you're these schools. So it's not all strictly just straight up the revenue sharing part of it, but there's other elements that are already in place with schools that they can use towards getting to $10 million in 3 years. Again, it's not $10 million right away. It's getting to $10 million in 3 years. So it's a good first step. I think when you look at the details, it's not a ton additionally for a lot of schools to have to do, but I think it sets a bar right now for the member schools about where they need to be if they want to be part of what Tim Pernetti thinks will be the ascending American Conference. We'll see what happens in 3 years.
Bruce, your thoughts?
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's a good floor to have to kind of start things and have a base for moving forward. Of course, in a month, the House settlement is expected to be approved by the judge out in California. And if that happens, of course, then, kind of NIL, I don't say it gets pushed to the side, but, then the schools are involved quite a bit in paying the players. So once the House settlement gets approved, then you have a situation where NIL might be shoved a bit to the side. Now, some of the huge high revenue schools in the country will still probably get heavily involved in NIL, but the changes just keep happening, guys. And I think the American is doing a pretty good job of kind of trying to stay ahead of it and try to at least, as I mentioned, establish a floor for member institutions to work with.
The only thing that I have trepidation about here is, can you really have a competitive conference if one school is spending $3.5 million and another school is spending $20.5 million on their athletes? There's no way the school that's spending $3.5 million is going to be able to compete with the school that's spending $20.5 million. And I'm not saying there's anybody that's going to do that, because I don't know that Memphis could afford it. And I think Memphis, USF, and Tulane actually have the most NIL budgets. And this would have to increase that by quite a bit. But I am saying if you've got a league where one's spending 3.5 or 3 1/3 and the other's spending 20.5, there's not going to be any kind of competitive balance whatsoever. Bruce, I start with you on that.
Well, and the analogy might be Major League Baseball. The Yankees are spending trillions of dollars, and the Kansas City Royals are spending a lot less, and yet because they can do more with less, Kansas City makes the playoffs and might knock out the Yankees. I think those schools that elect not to spend as much are going to have to do more with less. They're going to have to hire great coaches that put together, really good teams and that kind of thing. I think there'll always be a little competitive imbalance in almost any league you're in. So I think I'm not sure how you avoid that, to be honest with you, because everybody's a little bit different, and you have a combination in the American of the public schools and a lot of small private schools like University of Tulsa.
The difference with the Yankees and, say, Rice or Tulsa is that the Royals can draft good players. in college right now, everybody's a free agent. Corey, your thoughts?
Yeah, I would say I think that competitive imbalance has always kind of existed in college sports anyway. It might get a little bit more illuminated with this, but that's not going to be just an American thing either. I'm thinking about the news from the ACC this week, and Clemson and Florida State, if they do the $20.5 million right off the bat, is Boston College going to follow suit in that league? I mean, it's just like I think that's going to exist everywhere.
And they will. You're right. That's a great analogy because those two schools are actually going to bring in more TV money. They'll be able to afford to do it. Where the lower end, the Wake Forest, the BCs, they're going to struggle.
Yeah, it's going to exist in every conference, not just the American. And the article today was pointing out Army and Navy are exempt from this because they have to be. The one school that jumped to mind about how they maneuver through this, that reaching the $10 million in 3 years, is Wichita State, because they're the one without football and they are not excluded from this situation. So how do they go through this when they do not have the football generation that everyone else in the league does?
That's a valid point. I don't know. I wonder if Wichita. This would be a Mike Kennedy question, honestly, the voice of Wichita State for years, of whether or not really the Shockers made a mistake by leaving where they were, dominating the Missouri Valley, and coming into this league where they've never really reached that pinnacle, even with Greg Marshall as their coach. Bruce, I'll let you start with that.
Yeah, I mean, that's like you mentioned, it's an interesting point, and for Wichita State, they were done. I could have seen Wichita State going into the A-10. That might have been a better match for them, in terms of a nice upward move league wise. But I can recall Wichita State fans way back when, and they had a lot of hubris at that point. Talking about, well, is the American good enough for us? It was pretty funny listening and hearing about that. And then, of course, Mick Cronin and Memphis and some other teams kind of in their place, if you will, if you want to use that term. But you know what I'm saying. Yeah. You move up a league, and sometimes you think you're going to dominate that league, and sometimes that doesn't happen.
Corey?
Yeah, I think maybe both parties are wondering if this was the best move now. And the article, again, from Ross Dellinger, this jumped out to, I know, a good number of fans here. I think a good number of fans in your neck of the woods, Dave. If that $10 million in 3 years is not being reached, then the conference will be reassessing whether or not they belong in the league. And that's important here, I think, to know. I'm not singling out Wichita State. We'll see here, but all these schools are not Tim Pernetti's. He was not part of the evolution of this conference. And if the members are not reaching his standards, then we might see a rare thing happen, and that is reassessing the membership of a league. And so Wichita State, that 1 year with Isaac Brown as the interim, in which they were co-regular season champions. Outside of that, in this league, they have not been a factor.
Well, and honestly, I got to say this, the league needs for Wichita State to be successful.
100%.
Those people draw, they care, they have passion. I want them to succeed. All right, before we run out of time, I got to get to this because it bugs the heck out of me. Tim Pernetti has introduced, and I think the ADs have passed it, but the presidents have not, a 20-game conference schedule up from 18. Now, if you're Memphis, you're looking at that, and you're looking at the bottom schools with the nets they got, where you keep beating them and you keep losing seeding in bracketology. There's no way that helps the schools at the top, including Tulane, UAB, all those schools at the top playing two more bad teams. I don't get that. I like his idea about, instead of those two games coming from your own conference, make those bottom schools play better teams, including a challenge with both the A-10 and the Mountain West. Play those two games as opposed to two more conference games, in my mind. I'll start with Corey this time.
Yeah, this goes right into what we talked about a couple of weeks ago about the non-conference scheduling for the American. This has to work in conjunction with, all right, 20 conference games, so you're looking at 10 or 11 non-conference games at that point. If this is going to be put in place, and I'm hearing the same thing from our group here, this is coming, then there has to be a other side to this for the non-conference schedule, in my mind, to make this worth the while. And so a lot of leagues are going to 20 conference games, and so now you're losing the opportunities maybe to have these non-conference showdowns, but there needs to be, you need to have both hands working here if you're going to take two non-conference games away. If the league is not going to get better from the middle and the bottom all the way up to the top, then there needs to be an effort alongside this, the non-conference schedule.
Bruce?
Yeah, I like your idea, Dave, of why not the American involved in some sort of challenge against the A-10 or the newly formed Pac-12 or Pac-6 or six-pack or whatever they call themselves. Some sort of challenge, either 18 plus that or maybe both, 20 plus. You make sure that you force some pretty darn good games that'll cross across different leagues. I think that would be one good way to go, and then you're not always having, people trying to schedule and they have to go to the other team's place in order to get the game. The challenge eliminates that situation.
I am definitely against 20 conference games in this league at this moment. That is for sure. If you're looking from a selfish perspective, the teams at the top are not going to get any value out of that. Bruce Howard, Corey Glore, good luck with your games this weekend. And boys, we will meet up Wednesday in Fort Worth.
A real roundtable. A physical roundtable. I can't wait.
With adult beverages, too.
And with many others from the league.
Yeah.
Yep, the broadcasters blow hard, blow out.
There you go. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Corey. That'll do it for us. The week is over. The roundtable's been brought to you by Sheldon Rosengarten, Marks Bensdorf. You know all about him. They call him Mr. Three-Putt. He can't practice. He's a terrible golfer. He's working too hard for your home and applying his strategy. You know what it is. It's the 4 Ps. It's all about preparation, presentation, proper pricing. That's the marketing program. That's the strategy. It always works. That's why they call him Sheldon. You want your home sold, it gets sold. It always does. And Sheldon will say, hey, talk to 2 or 3 real estate agents. Just make sure he's one of them. No brag, just fact. He gets the job done to your satisfaction. You can reach him at 483-0546 or memphisrelocate.com. That'll do it for us. The week is over. We'll see you tonight, late night, at FedEx Forum. Have a great weekend, everybody.